The desert winds howled through the golden sands of Egypt as the first signs of the extraordinary appeared. It wasn't the first time I'd been in this part of the world. Dusting sand off my boots, I was reminded of my time in the military, chasing shadows in lands much like this. But this was no shadow. It was something far older, far stranger. I stood on the outskirts of Giza, staring at the pyramids. They loomed against the skyline like sentinels of a forgotten past, their ancient stones whispering secrets no man was ever meant to know. My name is Captain Rogers, and I thought I'd seen everything the universe had to offer. I was wrong. "Captain," came a voice from my comm, crackling with static. It was Dr. Alara Hayes, the lead archaeologist on this ill-fated expedition. "You're going to want to see this." The urgency in her tone sent a chill down my spine. Alara wasn't the type to spook easily. I jogged through the shifting sands toward her position, my shadow stretching long under the setting sun. When I reached her, she was standing at the base of the Great Pyramid, her face pale as she stared at something half buried in the sand. "Is that?" I began, my words trailing off as my brain struggled to process what I was seeing. It was metal. Not ancient, corroded metal, but sleek and polished, like it had been forged yesterday. Strange symbols ran along its surface, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. The sand around it seemed to hum, vibrating with an energy I couldn't explain. "We ran a scan," Alara said, her voice trembling. "It's not from Earth." Before I could respond, the sky erupted. Lights, brilliant and blinding, descended from above. A massive vessel, no, a fleet of vessels, hovered over the pyramids, their dark hulls gleaming under the fading sunlight. The air grew heavy, charged with static, as an otherworldly voice echoed through the desert. "Return what is ours." The words weren't spoken. They were imprinted directly into my mind. I stumbled back, clutching my head, the sheer power of the voice leaving me breathless. Around me, the rest of the team was frozen, their faces masks of shock and terror. And then, the ground shook. The pyramids themselves began to tremble, their ancient stones shifting as if something within them was awakening. A deep, resonant hum filled the air, and I knew, we all knew, that we were no longer alone. I grabbed Alara's arm, pulling her away from the glowing artifact. "We need to move. Now!" "But the pyramids, what's inside them? It could change everything we know about history," she protested, her eyes wide with both fear and fascination. "And it might get us killed," I shot back. "Alara, this isn't just history. This is war." Above us, the alien vessels began to descend, beams of light scanning the ground like searchlights. In the distance, the roar of engines signaled the arrival of military reinforcements. The first shots rang out, bright streaks of gunfire tearing through the night. And that was how it started. The war for the pyramids. The war for Earth. I didn't know it then, but this was only the beginning. The sands of Egypt were about to run red, and the secrets buried beneath them would shake the foundations of humanity itself. The desert turned into a battlefield overnight. From the safety of a makeshift bunker dug into the sand, I watched as human forces scrambled to mount a defense against an enemy we couldn't begin to understand. Alien ships hovered like black vultures over the pyramids, their beams of light cutting through the darkness with surgical precision. Every time one of those lights landed on a soldier or vehicle, it was as if they simply vanished. No sound, no explosion, just gone. "Captain, what's the plan here?" Alara's voice pulled me from my thoughts. She was crouched beside me, clutching a data tablet that glowed faintly in the dim light. Her usual calm demeanor had given way to visible fear, though she tried to mask it with determination. "The plan?" I muttered, scanning the chaos outside. "The plan is survival. But first, we need answers." Alara nodded and tapped on her tablet. "The artifact we found, It's some kind of beacon. The scans show it was activated when we unearthed it. That's what brought them here, I grimaced. So we invited them to the party. Not exactly, she replied. The beacon wasn't just a signal, it's a key. Something inside the pyramids is locked, and they're here to claim it. I let out a low whistle. So we're standing between them, and whatever they've buried for God knows how long. Great. Outside, the military was making a valiant effort to hold the line. Tanks roared to life, their cannons firing shells that burst against the alien ships in brilliant flashes of light. The air was filled with the deafening sound of gunfire, explosions, and the strange, unearthly hum of alien technology. But it was a losing battle. For every alien ship that was hit, another took its place. Their weapons were beyond anything we could comprehend. Energy beams that melted through steel like butter, and shields that deflected everything we threw at them. Elara, we need to get to the artifact, I said, pulling my sidearm from its holster. It felt woefully inadequate against what we were up against, but it was better than nothing. If it's the key, maybe we can figure out how to shut this whole thing down. She hesitated. Captain, if we tamper with it, we could make things worse. And if we don't, we're dead anyway, I countered. Come on! We're not going to solve this from a bunker. With reluctance, she followed me out into the chaos. The moment we stepped into the open, the sheer scale of the conflict hit me like a punch to the gut. Soldiers were shouting orders, dragging the wounded to cover, while alien drones zipped through the air, picking off targets with brutal efficiency. The pyramids loomed in the background, their ancient silhouettes now illuminated by the glow of alien lights. We moved quickly, sticking to the shadows, until we reached the artifact. It was still half buried in the sand, its glowing symbols pulsing with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Elara crouched beside it, her fingers flying over the tablet as she worked to interface with the alien technology. Can you shut it down? I asked, keeping watch for any sign of movement. I don't know, she admitted. This language, it's like nothing we've ever seen. But it's not just a key. It's also a map. A map to what? Something buried beneath the pyramids, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Something massive. Before I could respond, a deafening roar split the air. I turned to see one of the alien ships descending, its massive form blotting out the stars. A beam of light shot toward us, and I threw myself over Elara, shielding her as the ground erupted in a cloud of sand and debris. When the dust settled, I looked up to see a figure emerging from the light. It was humanoid, but taller, its sleek armor shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Its eyes, or what passed for them, burned like twin suns. It spoke, and though I couldn't understand the words, the meaning was clear. Leave now or perish. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent. Every soldier, every alien, seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what we would do. I pushed myself to my feet, my heart pounding. There was no way we could fight them, not like this. But maybe, just maybe, we could negotiate. The aliens' ultimatum hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Around us, the desert seemed to hold its breath. Soldiers gripped their weapons, their faces a mix of fear and resolve, while the alien figure stood motionless, an imposing sentinel of an advanced civilization. The silence was broken by Elara's trembling voice. Captain, she whispered, clutching my arm. We can't fight them. Not like this. I nodded, my mind racing. We're not here to fight. We're here to understand. Gathering what courage I had left, I stepped forward, raising my hands to show I wasn't armed, not that a sidearm would mean anything to them. The alien tilted its head, its burning gaze fixed on me. I cleared my throat, hoping my voice wouldn't betray my nerves. We didn't come here to interfere, I began, my words slow and deliberate. But now we're caught in the middle of something we don't understand. Help us understand. The alien's glowing eyes dimmed slightly, as if considering my words. Then, without warning, it extended a hand. A beam of light shot from its palm, striking the artifact behind us. The ground trembled, and the sand began to shift, revealing a hidden entrance at the base of the Great Pyramid. A tunnel, carved with the same glowing symbols as the artifact, descended into darkness. You seek answers, the alien said, its voice a low, resonant hum. Then follow. Before I could respond, a voice crackled over my comm. Captain Rogers, this is Colonel Reeves. Stand down and fall back. We're launching a counterstrike. I cursed under my breath. Reeves, you don't understand. I don't care what you think you've found. Reeves interrupted. These things are a threat, and we're taking them out. That's an order. I glanced at Alara, who was already studying the tunnel with wide-eyed fascination. We don't have time for this, she said. If we don't go now, we'll lose our chance. I made my decision. Turning off my comm, I motioned for Alara to follow me. Let's move. The alien didn't wait for us, descending into the tunnel with a fluid, almost ethereal grace. The air grew cooler as we followed, the walls of the passage glowing faintly with the same blue light that marked the artifact. The deeper we went, the more the symbols seemed to tell a story. Images of ships descending from the skies, of pyramids rising from the sands, and of a great war that had once consumed this place. It's a timeline, Alara murmured, running her fingers over the carvings. They've been here before, thousands of years ago, and they left something behind, I said, my voice echoing in the narrow space. Something they're willing to go to war to retrieve. As we reached the end of the tunnel, the space opened into a massive chamber. It was like stepping into another world. Towering structures of alien design filled the room, their surfaces pulsating with energy. In the center stood a monolithic object, a black obelisk that seemed to absorb the light around it. The air hummed with power, and I felt a strange pull, as if the obelisk itself was alive. The alien turned to face us. This is the heart of our history. A weapon, a beacon, a warning. You awakened it, and now its purpose must be fulfilled. A weapon? Alara asked, her voice shaking. What kind of weapon? The alien hesitated, as if searching for the right words. One that ends wars, or starts them. Before we could process what that meant, the ground shook violently. Distant explosions echoed through the tunnel. The military's counterstrike had begun. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and the alien's eyes flared with anger. They bring destruction upon themselves, it said. Your kind always does. Wait, I shouted, stepping between it and the obelisk. There has to be another way. We didn't come here to fight you. We came here to learn. You seek knowledge, the alien replied, its tone cold. Then understand this. Your species is young, reckless, and blind to the consequences of its actions. We do not seek war, but we will not allow you to disrupt the balance. As it spoke, the obelisk began to glow, its surface rippling with energy. Alara grabbed my arm, her face pale. Captain, if that thing activates... I know, I said, cutting her off. We need to stop it. But how? The alien raised a hand, and the obelisk's glow intensified. Leave now, while you still can. This is not your fight. But it was our fight now. The obelisk wasn't just a weapon, it was a choice. And the consequences of that choice would decide the fate of everyone on Earth. The chamber trembled as the obelisk's glow intensified, casting shifting shadows across the alien architecture. The air felt heavy, charged with an almost electric energy that made every hair on my body stand on end. Whatever the obelisk was about to do, it was close to activation, and we had mere moments to act. Captain, we can't let this happen! Alara shouted, her voice barely audible over the deep, resonant hum emanating from the obelisk. She was frantically scanning the glowing symbols on her tablet, her face a mask of concentration and fear. If it fully activates, it could wipe out everything within hundreds of miles. The alien stepped forward, its eyes blazing with a light that seemed almost alive. You do not understand the power you meddle with. The obelisk is not meant for your kind. And yet, here we are, I shot back, stepping between it and the obelisk. Whatever this thing is, it's on our planet now. We have a right to know what it's capable of. The alien's gaze bore into me, its expression inscrutable. It is capable of balance, of restoring order to chaos. Your kind thrives on chaos. Balance? Alara interjected, her voice tinged with disbelief. You mean destruction. You think killing thousands, maybe millions, is the answer? The alien didn't respond. Instead, it raised its hand, and the obelisk's glow intensified further. Symbols along its surface began to shift and rearrange, their patterns pulsing like a heartbeat. The energy in the room was palpable, pressing against my chest like a physical force. Captain, Alara said urgently, I think I can disable it. But I need time. How much time? I asked, my eyes never leaving the alien. More than we've got, she admitted. I tightened my grip on my sidearm, knowing full well it was useless against an opponent like this. But it wasn't about the weapon. It was about the stand. If you want her to stop, you'll have to go through me. The alien paused, its burning eyes dimming slightly. You would sacrifice yourself for your kind? Even knowing their flaws? That's what humans do, I said, my voice steady. We fight for each other, even when the odds are against us. For a moment, the alien seemed almost curious. Then, with a flick of its wrist, it sent a shockwave rippling through the chamber, knocking me off my feet. Alara screamed as her tablet was flung from her hands, skittering across the floor. The obelisk pulsed, its glow now blinding, and I knew we were out of time. Desperate, I scrambled to my feet and lunged for the tablet. My fingers closed around it just as the alien raised its hand again, this time aiming directly at me. But before it could strike, Alara shouted, Wait! The alien hesitated, its gaze snapping to her. She was standing beside the obelisk, her hands pressed against its glowing surface. If you want balance, she said, her voice trembling but resolute, then let us help you find it. Destroying us won't fix what's broken. The alien stared at her for a long moment, its expression unreadable. Then, slowly, it lowered its hand. You speak of cooperation, yet your kind has done nothing but take and destroy. Not all of us, she replied, her eyes shining with a mixture of fear and determination. We can learn, we can change, but only if you give us the chance. The alien seemed to consider this, its eyes flicking between Alara, the obelisk, and me. Finally, it stepped back, its posture relaxing ever so slightly. Very well, it said, but know this, the balance we seek is fragile. Do not tip it further. With a wave of its hand, the obelisk's glow began to fade. The chamber grew still, the oppressive energy dissipating like a receding tide. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding, my knees threatening to buckle beneath me. Did we just stop it? Alara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. For now, I said, meeting the alien's gaze. But this isn't over, is it? The alien didn't answer. Instead, it turned and began to ascend the tunnel, its form disappearing into the shadows. Before it vanished completely, it spoke one last time. Your kind has been given a reprieve. Do not waste it. As the sound of its footsteps faded, I turned to Alara. She was already examining the obelisk, her hands trembling as she recorded its now dormant state. This thing, it's not just a weapon, she murmured. It's a lesson. A reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked. I nodded, my mind still reeling from everything we'd just witnessed. The war outside would continue for a while longer, but this was the real battle. And we'd won for now. As we made our way back to the surface, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The secrets buried beneath the pyramids, the choices we'd made, they would ripple through history, changing everything we thought we knew about ourselves and our place in the universe. Standing at the edge of the desert, the pyramids silhouetted against the rising sun, I took a deep breath and turned to Alara. "Let's make sure the world learns from this," I said, "because if they don't, we may not get a second chance." And with that, we walked into the dawn, the weight of our discovery heavy on our shoulders. "Until next time," I muttered under my breath, glancing up at the endless sky. "Stay curious, and keep looking up."